Hi, you've joined the Matrix program. Well, welcome. This is your first induction video where we're just going to take you through what's going to happen now that you've contracted us to be part of your recovery journey. My name's Karen Ashford-Hatherley. If you haven't met me already, you will. I'm one of the directors of the program. So myself and Michael Tunnicliffe will both be part of your journey, as well as some of the other people you may have already met. This information is about your induction and your introduction into the Matrix program. So first off, you've made that commitment. So there's a few steps you need to understand, because over the next few weeks, there's going to be quite a bit of assessments and meetings that we're going to have with you to make sure that we can get you well established into those early recovery times. This is the most difficult time because it's a huge commitment. So there's going to be a series of individual sessions you'll be scheduled for over the coming weeks. And this is going to be in addition to the groups that you're going to attend. As you know, there's 3 sessions a week. That's the minimum requirement. Now that you've joined up, what you'll find is that one of our admin team will make contact with you, and they will start scheduling in times for you to come and be with one of our facilitators, psychologists, or the clinical nurse to undergo your introduction into Matrix. This involves really 4 components. First of all, the first thing you're going to do now that you've joined up is your logbook induction. You would have already done a couple of trials of the program to see everyone using these blue files that they've got a whole pile of information in, and a whole pile of logs and forms they've got to fill out each time they come to group, and that's what you're going to be taken through. So very early on, we want you to get your logbook. We want you to start documenting your sleep, your moods, your cravings, and those days that you've been abstinent. So that's the first thing that we're going to do, take you through that. The other thing you might have noticed is that we talk a lot about scheduling. So in that logbook induction, there are going to be a couple of forms you have to fill out. You're going to need to go through your schedule to start getting in the swing of really accounting for every hour. That's okay. Whoever it is that you're seeing, one of our psychologists or our clinical nurse will be taking you through. Also, you'll be filling out a relapse analysis form. So straight up, we want to start getting you thinking about how can I prevent, how can I avoid relapse. The mental health and alcohol and drug assessment will be with one of our clinical teams. So that'll either be with our clinical nurse or a psychologist. During this interview, we're going to gather as much information as we can about your mental health and about your addiction profile and the habits. So this helps us understand what are some of the complicating factors that we have to take into consideration as we plan forward your recovery journey. Schema assessment, you will be given 2 questionnaires to complete, and this helps us understand what sort of schemas are driving you. Now, don't worry too much about this right now. We will explain it. If you haven't already noticed in groups, sometimes people will talk about their schemas. Oh, that was my unrelenting standard schema, or there goes my self-sacrifice schema. So this is what we're going to identify. You will be given a questionnaire. It'll help you understand what your schemas are that you default to when stress happens. And once you understand what those schemas sound like in your head, because they're usually thoughts, they're usually things like, I should try harder, I should do better, or it's not okay for me to say no, otherwise I feel guilty. Well, they're all schemas. Once we identify them, you'll understand what they sound like, and then you'll be able to implement some of those skills that you learn in Matrix to interrupt those processes so you don't start going down the same old habits. The last of the assessments that you do is a brief neuropsych screening. This is really just a brief screening that is conducted by one of our psychologists, and you'll get feedback on this. You'll get feedback on all the assessments that we do. And if you like, your doctor and the other treating practitioners you have involved in your recovery, we can also send them a little bit of a report around this. What this brief neuropsych screening is about is we want to get an understanding of how your brain is functioning. Generally, when people come in initially, The substance they've been using has affected the way they think. It's affected the way that they problem solve. It's affected the way that they organize themselves and their memory. Now, just because you feel like your memory might be shot, a lot of people do when they've been using substances for a while, as actually doesn't necessarily mean that that's permanent. And what we do in the early stages is we get an idea of how your brain's functioning, and we actually do this again at 20 weeks and then at 48 weeks when you're through the program. And what people find is that how they were when they entered the program, they've improved from that. Other parts to your induction which are really important is understanding the group rules. Now, you would have got this when you signed up in the contract, but I'm going to take you through them again because we kind of see a whole pile of writing and go, yeah, whatever, I just want to do this. But it's important that you come to every session that you've committed to. In the early stages, it's 3 sessions a week is the minimum. Now, if you want to come to 6 sessions, I think that's really important. You need to do that. As many sessions as you need during those early recovery stages. Now, you're paying the same fee, you might as well get the most out of it if you can. If you can't make the session that you're scheduled in for, you need to let us know. This is important because we want to know what's going on. If you're changing your schedule from what you committed to, that's a potential relapse, and we need to know what's going on. You need to have a conversation about that with yourself first. Why am I doing this? Now, it could be something simple. Work might have interfered. Sure, that's fine. We just need to hear this because remember, when we've been in addiction for a long time, we've broken a lot of our own rules, and a lot of people have got to a point where they don't trust us anymore. And we want to start you developing those communication skills so that everyone around you starts to understand that they can trust you now you're in recovery. Come on time to group. Some people, due to work commitments, may be running late, or every now and again there's traffic hold up. Let us know if you're running late, and that's fine. If you're running late for work, that's fine. But if this becomes something that we notice is time and time again, then that means your schedule's not working for you. So we might need to have a look at that and go, what is it that is not helping you get to things on time? You will be given homework during the program, and a lot of that is about filling out your logbook, filling out how you're feeling every day. The more you get to know yourself, the more you get to understand why you do the things you do, the better you will be at preventing a relapse. So we do a lot of talk about skills in the program, in the group sessions. We encourage you to practice what we talk about. There's tasks that you'll be given to take away. It's up to you to make sure you do them. This is all about you and your recovery. It's not like homework in the old days from school. This is about you and your recovery and overcoming those patterns that aren't helpful to you. We will send you text messages. We send out a text message every morning, except for Sunday, just to check in, keep you on track. Now, we do need to know how you're traveling. So if we do send you a text message because we haven't heard from you for a while, or we're a bit concerned how you were in group yesterday, you need to let us know how you're going. You need to respond to that. When you join, we will talk to you about welfare checks, because sometimes when people are in addiction, their addictive brain can take over. They may have a history of going missing for a while. They may have a history of withdrawing from people. We want to make sure that you're safe at all times. So it is important that you just let us know you're going okay. But also, if you're not going okay, you let us know. That's what we're there for. We're to help you get through this. We can only do that if you communicate with us. Okay, this is a big one, isn't it? This is about being in group. Now, when you're in group, it's important you turn your phone off. Sometimes there might be reasons you need to keep your phone on. Please let us know what they are before we start group. We don't want phones being used during group. There may be occasions where we say, we want you to set your alarm on your phone to remind you of something. That's fine. But as you can imagine, using your phone during group is distracting. Everyone needs an opportunity to talk. Generally, our groups are not huge. Probably our family, it is the biggest because every person brings along one of their people that are supporting them in their recovery. So we do want everyone to have that opportunity to talk. Doesn't mean you have to, but just that there's opportunity for you to talk. Listening sometimes, especially if we're feeling tired or maybe what someone else is talking about isn't of interest to us, that can be difficult. But it is important to learn the skills of listening and focusing. When we're in addiction, we stop listening. We stop listening to ourselves, we stop listening to other people. Everything we do in Matrix is about retraining your brain and listening to other people, being interested in their story, being invested in their recovery as much as your own, is about forcing your brain to change from being self-absorbed and just focused on whatever the substance is that you were using. We all have personal beliefs and experiences through our life, and sometimes people may express beliefs that are different to yours. That's fine. We're all entitled to our own beliefs. We don't have to disagree with everyone, even if we don't necessarily agree with their beliefs. So it's really about respecting other people's rights to have a different view. And this is always an opportunity for us to express how we experience something different and not discount someone else's perspective just because it's different to ours. We do like to encourage people to share their own ways that they've coped with their recovery and maybe some challenging situations. But what we don't want is people giving advice saying, well, you should do this or you should do that. Now, every now and again, you may hear myself or one of the other facilitators strongly suggesting to someone that what they're about to engage in is not necessarily conducive to their recovery. And we've got good experience to tell us that the advice we're giving is important. Look, we're qualified and paid to give advice. If you do feel that you can contribute to someone's recovery, then putting it in an I statement. What I found was really helpful for me was this. I can see you going down the same path. You know, maybe it's something to consider. And look, this is what we do in the group. It's all about learning to communicate differently to how our addictive brain wants us to communicate, but it's also learning how to communicate in a supportive way. Do not use language that is associated with the substance that you are using. So, for example, some people like to use certain words. This can be triggering for other people. Even if the substance is not your primary addiction, it can be triggering for others who are in the program where that is their primary addiction. If you're not sure, just ask. Just say, look, I really want to sort of say something here about this. Ask the facilitator and we'll let you know if there's another way to say it. Also, romancing the drug or romancing the substance, if you like. Alcohol's still a drug. If we start to tell stories that were about the old days, then you will find we'll shut you down. And that's because, one, the moment you do that, your brain has started to get activated into that old pattern of thinking, and you're more than likely going to trigger other people as well. Of course, and naturally, we absolutely are against any aggressive behavior, sarcasm, or belittling of others. So if there is any group disruption to that nature, then people will be suspended from the program. Our program is a safe place. It is really important that we maintain that. And this is for you and this is for everybody else. Every now and again, we will hear people share their story and we'll hear how they've managed difficult situations. And something from that experience will be, we will take from that group. And we'll find later on in group, we may repeat it and we'll say, well, you know, a few weeks ago, such and such actually shared this in group and that really helped me. That really made a difference to me. when we're doing that, we want to maintain the confidentiality of that person. Now, obviously, if they're in the group, when you're about to share that, then you can say to them, a couple of weeks ago, mate, you said this, that really made a difference to me. And if that's the case, that's important. So, because that person now feels that what they're saying, what they're doing is helpful to others. So absolutely. But if they're not in the group, you don't need to say their name. You can just say, when I was in group a couple of weeks ago, one of the people in the group shared, a comment that was helpful, or an affirmation that was helpful. And, I took that away, and that's what's been helpful for me. And you can still share what it was. Other people who are in the group will probably know. But this is just about maintaining that confidentiality of the people in the group. Look, interaction with other group members once you're part of the program outside of our group sessions is not allowed. There's a really important purpose for this. We want to maintain, one, your confidentiality, but also within that, we want to protect everyone in the group. While you're in the program, you're vulnerable to relapse. So this is why, if we can manage who you interact with in terms of the group people, because you become pretty close to the people that you share your story with, especially when you've been in the program a long time. And you do develop friendships with people inside the group. Once you graduate, if you want to maintain that friendship outside, that's fine. But while you're in the group, you cannot have any association with other group members. Now, we do have a closed Facebook page, and we have a community forum on our website. You can connect with people through that forum, but absolutely no other social media connection is allowed. There's not to be any business transactions between group members. Now, obviously, no dealing of substances. However, most of our group members are in paid employment, and sometimes the type of work they do is something that you may need advice on. Now, while you're in the program, while you're in the group, you may say to someone, I'm really struggling or having a problem with this, and I know that that's your profession. Is there any advice you could give me? Is there any direction that you could point me in to get support outside the group? Providing that is done in the group and in front of others, that is fine. But engaging that person outside of group is not allowed. That then creates pressure on the person, on yourself. And if for some reason that business transaction goes sour, our group now becomes an unsafe place. So one person may decide that they don't want to come anymore because that other person's in there and things didn't work out in the business world. As you can see, this is why it gets too messy, too complicated. There have been times where people have, said, oh, gee, I wish I could. And it's like, look, it is not worth your recovery. So please don't. If we do find out, obviously, that does mean that the group program becomes complicated for you, and we'll talk to you about it. Okay. But it is important. And of course, everything that is said in the group stays in the group. The people you meet in group their identity stays in the group. A lot of the people, like I said, are professional working people, and we need to ensure that when they're out in their professional roles, they feel safe in case they come along and bump into you. Relapses, unfortunately, do happen in the program. It is really important that you follow the relapse management plan. You will, as part of your initial intake sessions, be given an intake relapse plan. As soon as you relapse, please contact us, and I'm going to give you those numbers in a minute. Really important, because there's a process. We want to get you back into the program, but we want to make sure that you detox in a supportive way, and that your health is maintained during that time. So please let us know, and we will get you in to see someone for a relapse analysis, and we'll get you back into the group as soon as possible. Remember, we do random testing weekly, sometimes daily, and tell us beforehand if you have been using, even if it's not your primary substance. Some people who are in the program for meth, go, but alcohol's not an issue for me, it will show up. You need to tell us if you've been drinking, and you need to tell us every time, because what happens is that sometimes your primary addiction is your primary addiction, but some of those substances that you don't think are a problem become a secondary addiction and eventually become a primary addiction. So we want to manage that. Once again, like I said, supporting you in your recovery. So yeah, whatever there is that is a problem, let's work it out together. Bring concerns up with one of the group facilitators if you do have some. If someone turns up at group that is someone you have known or know, please let us know. We will work that through. Perth's a small place. This has happened and we've been able to manage it very well. If you want to refer someone into the program while you're in the program, please talk to us. It can be done, and we work it out together. If you are annoyed about something, every now and again, you can be annoyed at us. We will push you. We'll push you because we know only at times when we know you need it. Sometimes we don't want to face certain things and we need to. However, you may find that someone in group annoys you. That's not uncommon. Please let us know. We need to manage that. We don't want your time in the group to be disturbed or disrupted because there's personality clashes. They happen. Don't drop out or stop coming to sessions. Talk to us about what is going on for you. If you need to suspend your time in the program for a little bit because there's other stuff going on, personal stuff that you need to sort out, let us know. We'll suspend your payments. Yeah, keep the communication lines open. And it's important for us to work things out. This is what we do when we're not in addiction. Okay, here's some important numbers. If you don't have them already, you need to write them down. The Matrix Clinic phone, which is predominantly the phone I carry. Now, I don't carry this at all times, but most times that's a number you can contact me on. The only times I won't have this is when I have to travel due to work. I do a bit of travel for work, but the admin team will have it. Michael's phone, that's his number there. That number you will get text by every morning pretty well much. He is contactable pretty well much most days. Our practice manager, Samantha, that's her contact number. So if you need to contact her regarding payments or anything, appointments or anything like that, give that number a call. The other option is to email us, and they're the two email addresses that you're most likely to get in contact with us. Now, remember, this is your introduction to Matrix. I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. What's important now is that you've contracted us to invest in your recovery. We need you to do the same. So over the next few weeks, it's going to be a bit more intense, where we're getting you to come along to a few individual sessions. This is a very important part of your recovery, this early stage. And we want to equip you as best we can to for the long run. So I will see you at some point if I haven't already, and I look forward to sharing the journey with you. Thank you.